Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood night. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Monday, January 8th. Back on a Monday, another show on Thursday. That's right, it must be getting close to the preseason starting. It must be close to getting to these first games of the 2024 season because we're here twice a week for basically the rest of the season. We're glad to have you. A lot of rumors going around. 2 players landed. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Rumors, rejections, new rumors, who the LA Galaxy are targeting, what's real, what's not real. That's going to be the second part of the show. We're excited to talk about all that stuff and get to that. And then in about 8 minutes or so, we're going to be joined by Chief Creative Brand Officer Will Misselbrook's going to talk to us about some tickets and some other branding stuff that's going on at the stadium. So a lot to get to, a lot of fun things to talk about, and to help me do all that, we're glad to have him back. It's Kevin, the Panda Baxter. Happy New Year, sir.
Yeah, it's our first show of the new year.
Yeah, you and I've already done a show. Yeah. Every time I say Happy New Year and it's January 8th, it's Curb Your Enthusiasm's Larry David whenever he was like, there's a statute of limitations. Like 3-4 days of Happy New Year, that's it. You know?
Well, it is. I mean, Three Kings Day was just a couple of days ago. So all your holiday decorations should be down by now.
They are down.
They are down.
I did leave up the potted Christmas trees that I have like at the front door, but they're sans decorations. It's just winter decorations. You know what I mean? For the biting cold. It's freezing, Kevin. I'm cold. It was like 37 degrees when I woke up this morning. I wore a jacket all day. I don't know. I'm just not made for this weather, I think.
You know, this coming year, Hanukkah starts on December 25th, which is also another holiday.
Man,
that's pretty interesting.
We're gonna party. That's what it sounds like. So, anyway, yeah, I am. I'm wearing my AFCHA pupusa hat today because
I noticed
because I need a haircut again. Basically, this is my I need a haircut hat on the podcast, and that's not happening this week. So you'll probably see it again on Thursday, as all that goes as well. So, a lot of stuff going on, Kevin. The LA Galaxy have been busy.
Sure. But you know what I like about, and we're going to talk about the names and the dates and the money and everything else, but I feel like for the first time in a few years that there's a plan going into this offseason. we felt like we talked, they were going to target wingers. They did. They got rid of Tyler Boyd, which we can maybe talk. I know you've talked about that already. We can talk about a little bit more. And they did. They focused like a laser on the wingers. We thought maybe they might look for a forward, for a true striker. Looks like that's not going to happen, which is a real boost of confidence for Dejan Joveljic. We'll see how that works out.
Right.
We definitely know they needed some help in goal. I thought anyway. They gave 67 goals last season. John McCarthy's coming over, maybe not to be the starter, maybe to be the starter, but certainly there's going to be a contest there. There could be some more action as far as trades go regarding goalkeepers. But the point being, I thought Will Kuntz and Greg Vanney came into this offseason with a checklist that they wanted to go down and take care of certain things. And they're spending too, which is sort of the Galaxy of old as well.
Yeah, I by the way, it's so often, and not that I'm saying he doesn't deserve it, certainly a leader in what he's doing. We talk about Will Kuntz, we talk about Greg Vanney. We should also point out the guys in there still doing stuff, right? You have Gordon Kleshnan in there, Senior Director of Player Personnel, right? You have Michael Stevens, Director of Scouting, right? Let's see, you have Joe Jessow. I don't even know, we're going to have to talk to that person. I've never met that person before. Right? So Senior Director of Soccer Operations, there is a team of people working on this stuff. And I think you're going to see Greg Vanney and Will Kuntz getting either the blame or the accolades for the success that they're going to have or the lack of success they're going to have. But it really is a team thing. And the reason that I bring that out is that it's reiterated a lot. This is a team environment for these guys and how they're going about things. We talked about ghost teams so many times, I think, last year, and how the Galaxy have ghost teams. Do you want to know a good sign of a ghost team is whenever you go after 2 wingers, you don't get them, and then 2 more wingers pop up on the transfer list like right afterwards. That's the sign ghost teams are out there, right? And it's also perhaps a sign that they're not only just ghost teams, but taking advantage of opportunities they see, Kevin. It's sort of like, we'll talk about one of the rumors, but perhaps an underutilized player that plays for a very large team in England. Perhaps you want to bring him in. Now, does that feel like a long shot? Maybe it does, but the bottom line is you see that there's an opportunity and you may go take that opportunity, right? It's one of those. You're prepared to take that opportunity instead of maybe panicking into the opportunity.
Well, and also you're prepared when plan A doesn't work out. You have plan B, plan C, plan D. I didn't think they had that a couple years ago when they wound up with Douglas Costa. They wanted Pavone. They didn't get him. They felt they needed to sign somebody. Our understanding was Douglas Costa was the guy available. Wasn't a good fit. They went after him, spent a lot of money on him. I think the jury maybe is a little bit out. He did some good things. They did some not so good things. But the point was he didn't fit. He wasn't the guy they wanted. And I don't know if they panicked, but they didn't have a plan B, C, and D at that point. And now I feel like they do.
Who knows? You know what? There's also, and I think rightfully pointed out, we're in a honeymoon period, right? There's change of ownership. There's all these things. You're willing to, and we're probably guilty of this, you're willing to give benefits of the doubt, right? You're like, hey, let's let these guys cook, right? Let's see how they're doing, right? Let's sort of play this little game that we sort of have going on here. So there's a lot of things that I think are working in the Galaxy's favor. And really, when you look at it, it seems like there's a lot of excitement for this. Now, there's still negative Nancy's everywhere, and I can understand even the pessimism. If you've been around this team for as long as we have, Kevin, you've seen some really bad, poor soccer. You know, I remember 2017. One of the most boring games I think I ever watched was in 2017, and I can't remember if it was against Sporting Kansas City or something, but it was 90 minutes, and I sat in the press box. Absolutely nothing happened for 90 minutes, and we all walked away more stupid for having been there and watched it, you know? So that was...
Well, you never covered Chivas USA. I mean, that was a whole different kind of pain. But, you know, you're right to sort of point out the fact that right now, I mean, we're all very hopeful. It looks like there's a lot of things, a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of things in the works. As of this moment, the only thing that's been done is McCarthy has been signed and Tyler Boyd has been traded.
And Yamane. Yamane's in too.
And Yamane.
Yes. And Barry. I mean, really... I can keep going, but I know what you mean. In terms of the big news, now everybody's waiting for the big players, the 2 designated players and everything else, but I think we're going to have some clarity on that whenever it comes forward, right? It looks like we're getting closer to understanding what the plan is, not only what the plan is, but how roster spots are going to be used too, because that's an important puzzle to all of this as well. So I'm looking forward to sort of dissecting and breaking things down. Now, you and Eric are going to be over at the coaches conventions, right? That's coming up this week.
I hear.
Yeah,
that's what I hear.
So the Hammer Wednesday, I believe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all in there. I'll get some more dates for them, but you can go check those guys out. I have to work, so you guys get to hold down the COG fort. So good luck out there. All right. Do us
We're going to be
proud.
podcasting. We're going to be podcasting right in the scrum.
In the scrum, you're on
It's
media
like a
row.
corner pick. We're going to be right in front of the net.
You're going to media row. I love it. So cool. Well, good. I'm glad you guys will have a lot of fun. Real quick, a $23.45 super chat from executive producer Herb. He says, "Hey Josh, hey Kevin, able to catch the live show because I'm on the men. Got COVID after dodging it for 4 years. It's like dodgeball. Last person standing, man. You got to watch out for those. Anyways, looking forward to the show. Happy New Year." Is the Herb Memorial still a thing? Yeah, the Herb, you know, should he go into that dark place at the end of the tunnel, we would have to have a Herb Memorial like trophy of some sort.
Oh, let's not even go there.
No, it's fine. He brought it up.
Morbid.
He brought it up.
Okay.
It was fine. We're all alive. We're all hanging out. We're all doing good. But the good news is that we can transition now because our guest has joined us. So without too much further ado, I want to welcome back to the show, appearance number 2. This feels like it's starting to become a habit a little bit here. Chief Creative Brand Officer for the LA Galaxy, Will Misselbrook. Will, how are you doing, bud?
I'm good, guys. Thank you so much for having me back on. What an honor. This is, yeah.
I mean, we're going to have to start like putting little notches next to your name. We're going to start a tally here pretty soon. We're really glad that you could join us. We did change your name during Christmas to Mistletoe, but we're changing it back because Christmas has gone over.
100%. I actually get called that all the time. Although I don't get a chance to kiss many people under mistletoe, but yes, I'll totally accept.
I was going to say
Positive.
it's not very creative. It's not very creative, Will. I apologize for that.
No, not at all. How you guys doing? Happy New Year. Do you guys have good breaks?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, Kevin. Did you? Kevin and I barely got to talk. Kevin, did you have a good break?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was
good.
kind of recharged the batteries. One of two, by the way, Will, you're one of two Wills that are new to the Galaxy and changing things around over there.
Well, I'm also half the height of the other Wills. He's way more of a man than I am. I'm like his smaller half, his younger brother. But yes, we are. And the other Will's got a new and very important job, and he's a legend and amazing. And he's doing so well already. So it's an honor to be working alongside him as well.
My last joke before we ask you a real question: if I run into the LA Galaxy's front office and I yell, "Hey, Will," how many people stand up?
Well, I have to stand up because I'm so short, so I do. But I think there's only two of us. I think yeah.
Okay.
Me and Will, yeah. So I think it's okay. So it'll just be two of us.
Just-
but then I would stand.
Just two of you.
Don't call yourself short. You're soccer sized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm kind of like in the messy area. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely a lot shorter than Will Coons, so I think he's 5'8", no 6'8", 6'9". I don't know. He's huge.
He's very, very tall. I will agree with that 100%. Will, no, we wanted to have you on. The LA Galaxy announcing that single game tickets for the LA Galaxy's 2024 MLS regular season opener against Inter Miami on February 25th will go on sale to the general public on Thursday, January 11th. Season ticket members will be able to go into that single game tickets to the LA Galaxy's home opener via pre-sale on Wednesday, January 10th. I know you guys were selling those 6-packs of tickets, right? Sort of going through the 6 game starts. How many of those did you sell? And are there any seats left in this single game selling?
Well, I mean, the sales numbers, this is where I need to bring in my CRO who's in charge of all the sales side. But no, it's been doing really well. Look, first of all, what a game. This is going to be insane. We're playing Miami. This is our home turf. We've got Beckham hopefully coming back as well to the ground. So it's going to be an amazing season opener for us. And, we're all really excited. And, so sales numbers, there are obviously tickets, of course, still left. And yes, so, season ticket members will be able to purchase the single game tickets to this pre-sale on Wednesday. And then it's open on the Thursday for wider sales. So it's going to be an amazing game, and we hope we want everyone to be there from our fan base. So we're excited about this.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, well, this is Kevin. You may have seen today that Sporting Kansas City, they host Miami on April 13th, and they have already made the decision to move to the football stadium there in Kansas City, which is, by the way, in a different state from when the team normally plays. And they're moving to the football stadium, which has a much higher capacity. The starting tickets sales price is $65. Did you guys, when you found out that Messi was coming for the season opener, did you think about going to the Rose Bowl, the Coliseum, SoFi? Was there ever any discussion about going somewhere else?
Honestly, no. I mean, it's like if I'm going to have a house party at my house, I'm not going to go borrow someone else's apartment to house it. Like, we want everyone at our home, right? So we wanted to have everyone here for the season opener back at our home, and this is it's such an important place for us, our fans, and the team. This makes so much more sense to have it at Dignity Health. So no, we kind of just lean more into that. Also, because we have Rose Bowl coming up on July 4th, and that being so successful the last year, that we don't want to, we didn't want to sort of encroach in that territory. We want to keep it just at home. So that was the reason why we decided that actually keeping it to us made more sense. Plus, it's because of everything we've been doing over this course of the preseason, off-season, in terms of all the stadium experiences and the game day experiences we're enhancing for 2024, we thought that, we want us to go out with a huge bang, because when fans come back, and we've done so much work and we are still doing some work on a lot of the stadium upgrades and rebranding and just the whole fan experience. And we worked very closely with the fan council, and listening. I spent so much time listening to a lot of the fans in terms of the experiences last season and seasons prior to what they're looking for the stadium. We're like, let's go all in. Let's try and make this an incredible experience for the fans. And this season opener will be a great place for this to kind of kick off our season and welcome everyone back to the stadium with this important game.
Yeah, I know you've talked about it, and I think when Will was on last, he was hinting at it, and we said that we were going to have the other Will, by the way, we were going to have to have you on. I always have to clarify. Vicky over at the LA Galaxy, she's like, Will be coming on. Will Misselbrook. I'm like, just tell me which Will, so that way I know which one to expect. But you've sort of talked about it. I mean, are we going to see in that first game? I remember a long time ago against AC Milan, the LA Galaxy played, and there were sort of, almost like suites that were built in temporary fashion on the grass berm. Are you guys trying to sort of increase the capacity to the max that Dignity Health Sports Park can hold?
No, it's not necessarily increasing capacity, but the whole game day experience. And like, I think I said this last time I came on, like, it's so important to me. Like, we're a business that, fan first business that serves soccer, right? So like everything that fans experience, the memories, the entertainment, I wanted to come and just be like, this is the most incredible 2, 3, 4, 5 hours I'm spending at the stadium. So it's more about enhancing every moment and every minute of the experience when you walk into that stadium. Even prior to that, like, I want fans to be excited when they're, a week before, leading up to the game, before they get there. But then every moment within the experience, I'm not saying the sort of tailgating side, but like all the Soccer Fest, the Connector Plaza areas, and then right into the game itself. Like, that's what we've been focusing on, enhancing that whole journey. And making it just the most incredible entertainment spectacle that we possibly can. So that's what we've been building through over since I last spoke to you guys.
Did you feel walking into Dignity Health Sports Park? Obviously, you sort of come from, let's say, an outside perspective. You walk into the stadium, and you coming from an NFL background as well, and sort of seeing what they do with stadiums. Did you feel like there was stuff that needed to be improved? Somebody on the Fame Council and I had a conversation, and they're like, if you see bare concrete, that's not really what you want to see, right? There's a branding opportunity everywhere. Is that what we should look forward to when we walk in the stadium?
Yeah, oh my God, I wish this was like a Skype call, because I could actually start showing you guys some stuff, but I'd probably get in a lot of trouble for that. But yes, I mean, I can't really say much about FedEx Field when I was the Commanders. That place was horrible. We had leaks happening during games. It was. So I guess like the foundation was pretty low there, but just. I love our stadium so much. Like, the canvas is there. It's a really beautiful stadium. And like, if we're asking fans to travel to Carson, just come and spend time and pay money to come to the games, they have to have the most incredible experience. I want to walk away with memories, both physical, digital, to share, and just be like, wow, okay, I want to come back to this because it's real entertainment. So I don't disagree. Like, a lot of the concrete that's there, it's a little dated. And so what we've been focusing on, and we worked really closely with the fan council, and took them through some initial ideas, got their input, plus additional fans have been reaching out, which has been awesome. And that's really helped at least shape and focus our creative momentum in terms of like what we need to bring to the stadium, all the interactivity, all the games. And this is all just pre-game as well, but then the stadium side itself, like, I managed to convince Tom Braun to give us, and we're building a DJ stage, like a huge booth/platform on the berm. We're having a whole new light system rigging up with lasers. We've got a new big crest happening that's being built in infrastructure on top of the one of the scoreboards. Like, the whole experience to me is going to be the most important aspect of this. And it's not to detract away what's happening on the field, but you want to be able to you want fans to be walking into something that is spectacular.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's been so much of our focus, is every element and every minute when you're walking around the stadium. It's like the way we built it out and I shared with the fan council was like, 4:59, you're going to the team store. For 5:08, you're going to Connector Plaza. Like, trying to map out, if I was a fan, I'm going to this, like, what would I expect and what would I want my family or friends to also be experiencing and getting out of this, is how we planned it. So yeah, it's big, and we've been building. We're in the process of doing all this as we speak, but I'm hoping that fans enjoy every minute that they're in that stadium.
You talk about lasers, and all of a sudden I go back to the Die Hard villain thing. So I just wanted to point it out.
Wait,
So
yeah, fair play. All right,
So
I'll take that as a huge compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
it sounds like when people come into the stadium, they're going to notice a visual difference, an auditory difference. Have you changed any of the concessions? Will there be a difference in the concessions and that kind of stuff? And also on the point of the DJ and some of those other things, I've heard people in other cities when teams have done this, mainly like baseball teams or football teams, they feel like all this noise and smoke and magic and mirrors, they're trying to mask the fact the team isn't any good. You guys are going to have a really good team next year. Are you worried about that criticism, that maybe there's too much and it's taking the focus away from the team?
No, I mean, like, that's a totally fair comment, but no, honestly, it's more, this is everything completely pre-game, right? So it's not necessarily about trying to detract or distract from what's happening on the field. But I feel right now what we had last season was the even in myself, the momentum, that excitement of like before kickoff, it was lacking. It was not to the percentage that we'd all want. So you want to be hyped up, pumped up, excited about everything right up until that first whistle. So to me, it's not trying to distract from the on-field. It's trying to get you so just entertained and excited. And as soon as the whistle starts, we're into the game. So it's not trying to do the smoke and mirrors stuff. But I just feel our fans deserve, and we all do internally, like they deserve better. And so that's kind of the reason why we went about trying to create a much better atmosphere and experience when they walk in the doors. And look, it's because you're coming to Carson, it's not just down the road. People are taking the time to go to our stadium. So if they're going to be there and we want to get them there earlier, then they should have the most entertaining day that they can with their friends and family. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Now, how much of this should we expect? There's a preseason game, LA Galaxy versus St. Louis, Dignity Health Sports Park on February 3rd. That's rapidly approaching. How much of this should be ready for February 3rd, and how will it look different on the on the 25th?
I hate to disappoint. No, unfortunately, we won't have it all done for them. The 25th is kind of our landmark when we're going to unveil it all. So, like, I'm not one to disappoint, and I love you guys, and I love everyone listening in. So, I will say that we're gunning for that just because there's so much we're trying to build and create. And our off season really wasn't off season. We kind of all been working all the way through to get this all done in time for that game.
It's always that way. There's no such thing as an off season in Major League Soccer. We all know that. Kevin knows that. You know that. The team knows it as well. So, well, great. Kevin, anything else for Will? Or you guys?
Yeah, I had one last question. Yeah. Will, I know you came to the Galaxy from the NFL. We all hear the accent. Did you grow up with soccer? Is this kind of a dream canvas for you to be able to work with? Getting away from the NFL and getting into soccer?
I think I said it last time. Like, this is when I was in football, NFL. Like, that's not a football I understand. This is a real football to me. This is a dream, and I followed Galaxy from such a young age. So it is a total dream. And like, I don't know if you guys anyone follows Commanders. They're still slowly falling apart, and their coach just got fired today. But no, this to me is everything. And I love. Well, number one, thank you guys, you two, because I love you guys, but also all the fans and everyone I've met along this journey so far have been so invaluable to helping. At least me in my first 8-9 months I've been here, but also what we want to do next. And please keep contacting me, email me, tell me ideas. And we've had so much input coming through that I love, because it's really helping our direction creatively, not only from the stadium experience side, but also the brand side, as well as we're evolving that going into 24. And I'll have more to share in the next few weeks as well. But no, this has been a lifelong dream. So it's an honor to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, Will. We always appreciate your time. We'll let you get back to renovating that stadium, getting some stuff fixed up there. You still got some work to do. So we appreciate you stopping by as always.
Thanks a lot.
Having me on again. I appreciate it, Kevin.
All right. Thanks, Will. All right. There he goes. There's Will Misselbrook, the LA Galaxy's chief creative brand officer. And listen, I love the chat rooms. Like, just play on. I'm excited about the lasers. I know maybe you guys aren't. I'm excited about a DJ booth. I mean, I like the whole experience. Don't worry. For 90 minutes, well, not really 90 minutes, because we all know that those guys rarely play soccer for actual 90 minutes. But for 90 minutes, you're absolutely going to get to focus on all the stuff that's there, which is, you get to see you're going to get to watch the game. The game is always going to be forefront. I like seeing things jazzed up around it too. I'm really interested to see. I know that they sold and this is a technical term, a crap ton of those 6-game packages in order to get, Messi sort of sold. Now they have single game tickets. I can't imagine that those single game tickets last past the day.
Past the hour.
That's what I'm thinking, but I mean, I'm just trying to I'm trying to cover my bases. I don't think, and by the way, with the season ticket members having a pre-sale the day before, I bet half of those are gone before you even get to the other one. It very well be. I would not be surprised, and this is total speculation. I know nothing about this. I'm just guessing, Kevin. I would not be surprised if season ticket members snap up a majority of those tickets, and there's very little left on the resale market.
And what are they going to do with them? I mean, let's be honest. It's going to wind up in the resale market. Last year, when Messi came in with LAFC to play LAFC, it was the highest resale ticket price in MLS history. By the way, MLS used to be Major League Soccer. Now it's Messi Soccer League.
Oh, is that what is it? Messi League Soccer. It's Messi League Soccer if you still wanted to make it MLS. Come on, get the joke right.
Correct. correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's totally. I mean, just the excitement for people. Everyone coming up to see DeAndre Yedlin play is going to be a. By the way, another interesting thing about this game, which will be, I'll mention it now, and I bet you won't hear about it again. David Beckham is coming back with his team to play at a stadium with a statue of himself near the main entrance.
Don't we always like to see David whenever he comes back? I'm excited for that part. That's a good part. That's a very good part. I like, seriously.
It just seems weird. I know it's happened before, but it just seems weird that you come back and play in a stadium where there's a statue of you in the front.
I mean, yeah, but he's David Beckham. He's probably used to having statues of himself probably in his own house, I would imagine. I don't know. Maybe not.
Did you see that? Did you see the 3-part series on Netflix? Have you watched it yet?
I have not. And the only reason I really haven't gone into it is because somebody told me that they really minimized the sort of stuff with the Galaxy, and
Well, they do. I mean, it's like him and Posh meeting in England. He's very young. You won't even recognize him.
Oh my God. Hold on. Let me put down a fire here in the chat room. Blaz is saying he said rebrand a new crest and these guys didn't jump on it. That's because we know that there isn't a rebrand of a new crest. He was talking about building an actual crest, the existing one, on one of the scoreboards. So that way it would be more representative. It's place setting. I've talked to a lot of people. We know of no rebrand. That was more last year than anything else. Is there a refresh going on? Absolutely, there's a refresh. There's a refresh across everything. Jump into the Discord for a little while. Talk to those guys about some of the stuff that's going on in our Discord, because there's a lot of really smart people. There's some connected people. There's some people. Listen, I'll tell you right now, there's some people from the LA Galaxy who like to sneak into our Discord and hang out for a little while. You can see that too. But that's sort of the thing, is that's what's going on. So,
well, one thing we didn't get to ask him about, because we had to be very respectful of his time. He's off right now. This is his own time. But the last couple of years, the Galaxy slogan or marketing campaign has always been, since 1966, the original MLS team, we've won more titles than anybody else. That's all true, and that's all great.
Right.
But it reminded you that they haven't won anything in a decade.
Yeah.
You kept talking about how great they used to be. And some younger fans were like, well, wait a minute, I've never seen them win anything. And so I do hope they get away from that. I mean, the history is there. We all know it. Everybody knows it. We don't have to be reminded of it. But every time they threw that in your face, my first reaction was, well, what have you done for us lately? So I hope they freshen that up a little bit and not take us back to the Galaxy of the past, which, if they win again, fine. And let's say, okay, now they've won 6 and here we go, and we're moving forward. But I think for right now, let's just focus on what they're doing right now and not the fact we haven't gone, the team has gone 10 years without a title.
I mean, it's funny. It's always a balance of everything, right? But I mean, I love seeing the history of this team and sort of stuff. And you and I have been covering it for long enough that, like, we've been part of that history and gotten to see that. So it never really bothers me. I think the thing is that you can't hang on that. And I think you got that right, which is like, you can't always hang on that. Now it has to be about now. What's happening now? And you saw, but there is always, it's people say you have to like ignore the history a little bit, but everything the Galaxy do now is sort of reflective of that history as well. It's impossible to do what everybody says. Well, just focus on the now, and because then you'd be ignoring the history, and the history is still there. So it's one of those weird balance things, and people are fine with the balance when you're winning. By the way, it's just whenever you're losing, right? It's like everything. Hey, you want more positive from everything for the LA Galaxy? Win games. I like how you said, it looks like you guys are gonna have. You said you guys are gonna have a really good team this year. Let's see. Let's wait. Let's wait. Pump the brakes on that. I've been fooled once or twice or 7 times before. I do like the way it's shaping up. But I really do like, I do like some things, but let's, games. You actually have to play the game. Lots of people have talked to me about how the Galaxy are already losing that first game to Messi. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they make you play those games. I'm pretty sure. That's how it works. So we'll sort of see how that goes. So you want to get to some news?
It's going to be like an old timers game. Messi, Suarez.
It should be fun. Any statues of former players coming soon? If there is, there's 2 that are right on the tip of the tongue for the next ones. Kobe Jones is clearly one of those. I think Robbie Keane is another one of those. You could go Mauricio Cienfuegos. Quite honestly, if it was me choosing the next one, I would choose Joe Tutino would be on my list.
I love Joe, and I like the 2 players you mentioned, and I think they should be represented. My next one would be Bruce Arena, and I wouldn't even talk about anybody else until we did Bruce Arena.
Oh, Bruce standing next to Landon and David with his arms crossed, all angry, right? Yeah, that type of thing. That could certainly be there. So, Adam, thank you for the $5 super chat. Certainly appreciate it. First super chat on the show, so really, really fun for that.
No, what about Herb?
Herb should get a trophy here. I mean, I'm basically, if I ever get a house, I'm probably going to have like the Herb Memorial Room, right?
Yeah, because you said the first super chat, and wasn't Herb a super chat?
Well, not a lot. No, it was Adam's first super chat on our show. It was Adam's first, not Herb was.
Okay.
Are
see.
you okay now? I'm sorry.
I got it.
That was confusing.
All those lasers in my eyes and this fireworks going off.
I know. I can tell. Let's see. This is the part of the show where I get to toot my own horn. Are you ready? Here we go. On Thursday's show, I didn't ask if you were ready. I didn't care. On Thursday's show, we said McCarthy is signed. That'll happen. That should be announced soon. And Yamane is signed, and that should happen soon, right? As close to good as you could get. So what happens on Friday? The LA Galaxy announced that McCarthy has signed. Then what happened on Friday a little later? I announced that Yamane had signed. And then the LA Galaxy a couple hours later announced that Yamane had officially signed as well. So you have McCarthy into this roster now, Kevin. You have Yamane into this roster now. These are both guys we have talked about, so it's not something that we're surprised. But really on the McCarthy side of things, we talked about just what a locker room guy he is, how this certainly provides a lot of flexibility for the LA Galaxy, and how it's a warning flag for Jonathan Bond, right? Which is, hey, these two guys, Mitrovic and McCarthy, can both play this position. We know they can. We've watched them do it. I think the LA Galaxy are certainly going to lean on, being they went out and spent the money for Mitrovic, that they're going to look at Mitrovic possibly being that number one. In fact, if I'm going to guess right now, opening day, Mitrovic is the number one. Having said that, Jonathan Bond is the incumbent there, right? So there's still a chance for this. But when you bring in McCarthy, Kevin, you're basically going out there to Jonathan Bond's and you're putting a for sale sign on him. And so that's an interesting take too. Will he still be with the Galaxy? Is this a challenge for him? And if this is a challenge for him, does he fight back? And is he the number one? I would imagine he's not real thrilled with them picking up McCarthy and knowing that Mitrovic is there. And so, from the people I've talked to, certainly it's been a question about, is this a challenge for him? Sometimes, Kevin, you can forge a lot of iron and fire, right? So you can have these guys get put through the ringer. He's going to have to compete. This job is not his. And I think the LA Galaxy, if they get the chance, could move him. And if not, he's going to be there, and it's going to be a bar brawl to find out who the number one is. And maybe that's what the LA Galaxy need right now.
Well, they have 3 number one goalkeepers right now. I think 3 guys that come into camp thinking they're the number one. McCarthy is going to come in with a lot of motivation. He played so well for LAFC last year, and then down the stretch, they gave the job back to Crepeau, which I understand. But if you're McCarthy, you got to say, look, I've been one of the best goalkeepers in the league. I have 8 clean sheets, and I've done really well. And I have 3 clean sheets in Champions League. What more can I do? And you guys just basically told me I don't have the job anymore. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that as a free agent, he walked.
Right.
Mitrovic is there. He was the guy we were talking about before as the guy that was going to be the number one. Jonathan Bond, as you said, does kind of look like the odd man out. Now, to move him, he's got a pretty big salary. I think it's $550 last year. That's going to be tough to move. But when you bring in Hugo Lloris at $350, and then it looks like Crepeau may get as much as $1 million from Portland, that's kind of the market, right between $350 and $1 million for a goalkeeper. Jonathan Bond's right in the middle of that. I think the Galaxy would have to probably pay some money if they wanted to trade him in that salary because he's under contract. But I think you're right. I mean, I think the idea right now would be with 3 goalkeepers, the one that, if I'm building the Galaxy, the one that looks like it might be expendable is Jonathan Bond, but he's got that big salary. It's going to be tough to move him.
$525. I wouldn't be surprised if the Galaxy pays some of that salary if he does go somewhere too, right? If you can pay $100,000 and it knocks it down to $425, you're still saving, $425,000 on the cap. There's room there. That's why it's one of those things. That being said, and I think the chat room is saying, hey, maybe Jonathan Bond is the number one. Absolutely could be the number one. I'm just saying that going into this, like I said, this feels like a bar brawl to me. So with McCarthy added, this now brings in sort of those questions about Jonathan Bond, and I don't think we're going to know the answers to those until we get closer to the beginning of the season right now. But
and by the way, Bond is the oldest of the 3. And I did ask someone with the Galaxy when Hugo Lloris signed. It was right about the McCarthy time, and I think my question to them was, you got McCarthy. Did you talk at all about Crepeau? And well, he was too expensive. But one of the and McCarthy's probably going to get around $350. I think he's probably due a raise, and he'll probably get around $350. That's what Lloris came in for. And so I asked, were you guys in on that at all? Did you talk to him, coming over from Tottenham? And the response was pretty interesting. I was told that this is the person with the Galaxy I was speaking to. He said, I hope that the era of signing late 30s, meaning age, European players to the Galaxy, I'm hoping that is now in the rearview mirror.
It is.
That they don't want 37-year-old European stars. They're looking, as we'll talk about shortly, they're looking at 22-year-old Brazilian players.
It's weird. It feels like the scripts have sort of flipped here just in a matter of months, right? Just what the LA Galaxy do and sort of how focused they are on some of these things. And you know, I guess we're sort of gonna see how it plays out. Let's finish with McCarthy. 2-year contract through the end of 2025 MLS season. All right, so that's his particular one. Now we go to Yamane. Right, so now the LA Galaxy getting their star right back, a guy who was named, Defender of the Year Japan a couple times here. This is a guy who's played on the Japanese World Cup team. For the Japanese national team. You sort of pair him with Yoshida as partners back there on the right. He's a right back who can get into the attack, deliver crosses. This is a significant signing for the LA Galaxy, and one that was queued off to us here pretty quickly. Whenever Will Kuntz came on the show and told us that he had been in Japan looking at Yamane, and that he was optimistic about the signing, and apparently stayed optimistic all the way through the actual signing. So now they bring him in. He's 30 years old, just turned 30, by the way. So 30-year-old right back coming in. This is a guy who still has certainly some time left on his legs, but this is your starting right back. This is the replacement for Lucas Caligari. This is the guy that they wanted. They went out, they got him, and now this is done. It looks like there was at some point, and we haven't heard anybody actually say it, and I need to dive into the things, but it looks like there was probably a transfer fee of some sort paid because he came from Japan. So this is one of those signings that's going to be a big deal for the LA Galaxy putting in there. This means that, you have somebody like Mauricio Cuevas, who is possibly the backup right back on that side as well. So you have Cuevas, you have Yamane. On the left side, you're going to have Aude, which is probably the starter, and John Nelson, who was acquired earlier this year as to be the backup. So as far as I can tell, Kevin, right now, unless there's a departure, and I think there could be a departure at some point here still in the center back core, because center back core is Cáceres, it's Yoshida, it's Neal, it's Mavinga, it is why can't I think of Greg's nephew? Zavaleta, thank you. One of my favorites. Zavaleta there as well. So you have those guys at the center backs. And I still think that either Mavinga or Cáceres are still sort of the odd men out in terms of how much money they make and whether or not they could move anybody to sort of save some cap space and spread that money somewhere else. But as we've seen from the LA Galaxy and the injuries that they had, having a dearth of center backs probably isn't the worst thing in the world. And I'm interested to see if the Galaxy ever go 3 in the back with some of the wing backs that they have. Yamane is certainly somebody who could sort of play wing back. I think Aude is sort of a wing back guy. So you look at those and say there's possibilities and options within that playing core as well. So with Yamane's signing now put in there, we will see where he goes. Go ahead.
I saw some stuff on social media about Cáceres working out now. He was in the gym and showed him on a treadmill. It was kind of a message, I thought, because I think a lot of people have been talking about, well, is he going to come back from the injury at his age with the World Cup so far away? Is he motivated to come back? I felt like that was a message to say, yeah, I'll be there when camp starts. So, the Galaxy will have some decisions to make. As far as Yamane, he reminds me a lot of Caligari, and even before that,
Julian
Araujo. Jesus, I hadn't.
Don't worry, I miss Zavaleta. It's still early.
Julian Araujo, in that he is very offensively focused, that he will get up in the attack. He will be a guy who will be involved in the offense. And that's, I think, the way that Greg Vanney likes to play with his right back. The big thing for me is that he is a veteran and he's played with Yoshida before. Those two will now be side by side. One of the reason the Galaxy gave up 67 goals is because there wasn't a lot of communication. I think there was some breakdowns on that back line. I think this will help. These guys already have a little bit of chemistry. The language is not going to be a problem, which it may or may not have been at some times last year. The right side of that back line will speak Japanese, and the left side will speak maybe, Spanish or English. But they'll be able to commute with each other. They'll be able to communicate with each other, which is the point. That communication, that chemistry, and that familiarity with one another, I think it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah. I think I'm really excited to sort of see it. By the way, Juan gave us a $5 super chat and said, Boyd seemed to be a proven winger, and now we're going for at least 2 wingers with transfer fees. Why not just up the salary a bit to keep him? One is, I think that certainly you're looking at how the LA Galaxy want to spend their money. Now, I can tell you just based on sort of the people that they've been going after as a young designated player and things like that, you could have guys who have salary cap hits of $200,000, $250,000, $150,000, but being a young designated player or U22, their salary cap is less than what Tyler Boyd could ever be. And not only that, the Galaxy actually think that they're going to go out and get a better player than Tyler Boyd. That's my assumption, because otherwise you don't get rid of Tyler Boyd unless you think so. So salary cap wise, yes, upping the money a little bit sounds like a great idea. And you're like, well, you could get Tyler Boyd for maybe $650, right? Just underneath the max, right? You could do it. But the bottom line is, if you go out and you spend money, let's say you spend $10 or $12 million, you go out there, sign them to a different roster mechanism, their cap hit is less than what it would have cost to keep Tyler Boyd. So one is you're getting a younger person, and I think they're hoping to quite honestly get somebody who's more offensive, is more involved, is able to do that. And listen, I love Tyler Boyd. He's great. He's going to do really good for Nashville, which means the Galaxy are going to get a lot of money because he's going to meet a lot of performance metrics and all those types of things. And I think whenever he plays the LA Galaxy, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to be a difficult person to sort of complain. I do think the LA Galaxy are thinking a little more long-term here with U22s, with young designated players, with getting guys in who are young, who they think have the talent to be as good or better than Tyler Boyd and have a cap hit that is lower than what Tyler Boyd would have. So Tyler Boyd would have cost you a lot more cap space than what some of these big transfers are possibly going to be. So keep that in mind.
And you're talking about $650. I actually think he's going to get a lot more than $650.
I think, really, do you think he's going to go into TAM level? Because $650.
No, not that high. I'm talking maybe 8 or 9.
8 or 9 takes you into TAM range. You're above the max. So
okay,
that's why I'm sort of like, yes, you can use general allocation to pay down underneath that. So technically you could be above it, and then you use general allocation to pay it below the max. But that being said, I mean, you're basically, by the way, anybody over the max could technically also be a designated player. And I don't, it's like one of those. So
he's not a DP. Yeah, there will be some allocation money involved. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, he played all 34 games last year. He was there, answered every whistle. He played really well. He was an offensive threat. I do think that the reason the Galaxy moved on is because it was just the cap hit was going to be too big. And like you said, they're looking at players that are coming under in a different mechanism that might be even better.
Right. And that's the idea. That's how it sort of goes. The other move that was made by the LA Galaxy was Brandon Tejas from the LA Galaxy Academy and LA Galaxy 2 actually traded to Guadalajara, right? This is an academy product at LA Galaxy 2 who is then traded to a Liga MX team. This, Kevin, is new territory. As a matter of fact, it's very new territory. It hasn't happened before. The LA Galaxy got, I believe, $100,000 was what the rumored fee was in this. And then a Seattle player actually did something similar today, again, for a fee of about $100,000. So this move with Tejas was actually sort of the marker for a lot of the MLS Next Pro, for LA Galaxy 2, for this part of the league to actually put markers down and be like, this is how much it costs for a transfer out of our MLS Next Pro or our developmental league now. And so that bar has been set. So now we sort of see where that goes from here. But just an interesting rumor, nothing that affects the first team, but you want to pay attention to this because this is talking about the health of the LA Galaxy, the health of MLS Next Pro, which I think is certainly questionable sometimes. And then the competition between USL Championship, the competition between MLS Next Pro, and how that is sort of balancing back and forth and what it means for a big team in Mexico to come and actually do this. So, yeah.
Our good friend Stephen Bank, who is a law professor at UCLA, very involved in international soccer and the finances of international soccer, he thought that this move was very significant because it, as you said, it does put down a marker. It says these players now at MLS Next Pro are worth this. You got a guy better than Brandon. He's going to be more expensive, and that money comes back to the team. And one of the problems with the academy programs and the MLS Next Pro is those players are assets for you. Just as if you get TAM money in a deal, that's an asset for you. You need to find out how to use those assets. If Brandon Tejas is not going to play for the Galaxy this year and he's going to be at MLS Next Pro, that doesn't help the first team. You sell them for $100,000, that does help the first team. And I think we're going to find maybe teams are going to be a little more aggressive when they look at a situation where they have a decent player that doesn't look like he's going to progress to the first team because somebody's there at that position. They're already signed. Now all of a sudden you can use those resources in different ways.
It's a certain interesting one. By the way, Andrew gives us a $20 super chat. Thank you for that, Andrew, and it's good to see you. Thank you, buddy. It says, I think it will be really interesting to see what happens with us with Kuntz and LAFC without him. So far, our rumors are more in line with what LAFC used to be rumored to, and their rumors, Benzema, are closer to us with Klein. Kevin and I were having that same discussion before we started the show. So, or maybe that was on the phone earlier today whenever we talked to set this all up. But I very much it is easy to draw those parallels right now, and like seeing that switch sort of flip is abrupt and interesting. To say
I'm not sure how much stock I put in the Benzema thing. I don't know if that will happen, but I mean, you're right. You're talking about a guy in his late 30s, was a big European star coming to MLS. They just got Hugo Lloris. They had Chiellini. They had Gareth Bale. All these guys in the last 2 seasons. The Galaxy are looking at 22-year-old Brazilians. They turned down Lloris and got a 29-year-old MLS journeyman goalkeeper,
right? A
guy that they think is valuable for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, it kind of is different, and it's funny too because when Bob Bradley was there for the first season at LAFC, I remember the Galaxy were talking about signing Zlatan, which they eventually did. And I asked him about that. Are you guys in on this? Would you do this if you had a chance to get a player like Zlatan? And Bradley kind of scoffed and said, some teams, they're all about signing these big European players. We're about getting talented players. We're about getting good players. We're going to go out and get players that can help us win, and we're going to turn them into stars.
Right.
Well, kind of like you said, it's kind of flipped the switch.
Yeah, it feels different, but certainly that's the thing. All right, let's get to rumors now, because I know people are complaining. We got John McCarthy across the line, Miki Yamane across the line. Here is your newest rumor. Gabriel Peck from Vasco da Gama in Brazil. Apparently, and according to Tom Bogert, the LA Galaxy are finalizing a deal to sign Brazilian winger Gabriel Peck from Vasco da Gama. Deal at $10 million, which may be a new LA Galaxy club record. Current record's Chicharito, which was also around $10 million. So we'll sort of see where it lands. COG and myself included here can tell you that the LA Galaxy are actually 100% interested in this. I would say the mood around it is hopeful. I also know that a lot of the personalities within the LA Galaxy are very much like, what can go wrong will absolutely go wrong, and so there's always sort of this very like, we'll talk about it whenever it happens, that type of thing. But this is somebody that they're going after 100%, and certainly the finalizing part is the part to sort of pay attention to this. This seems like it's more advanced, but in order to even get to Gabriel Peck, which is an exciting player, certainly a guy who apparently can play on both the right and the left, so don't just be concerned that he's just a one-sided player. The Galaxy see him as being able to fill in on both spots as the Galaxy go after wingers. But we have to talk, Kevin, because the LA Galaxy were going after Sosa. The LA Galaxy were going after Solari, right? And we have now heard that in Sosa's case, the LA Galaxy offered as much as $12.5 million and then stopped and drew the line there. Which is a ton of money for somebody like Sosa. But the bottom line is what happened. And whenever we were talking about this too, we said, let's wait for the third name. The third name is going to be the most important one. By the way, Solari and his team apparently rejected a $10 million plus offer in order to come join the LA Galaxy. In years past, Kevin, this feels like the time the Galaxy would have panicked. But instead, what do we get? We get 2 new rumors, and not just 2 new rumors. We get a rumor that shows that they're going after Gabriel Peck, which is in advanced talks and close to being finalized, right? That's one that's there. So the LA Galaxy reload quickly. And not only that, but let's just say, if you are negotiating, Kevin, if you're out there and you're sort of saying, well, we told you we'd give you $12.5 million for Sosa, and I guess you didn't listen to us. Now we're going to go play $10+ million for Peck. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, well, these guys aren't sort of locked in and hung up on one person. If we turn them down, they will go somewhere else and find somebody else, right? It's like, a lot of times I felt like the Galaxy were so pigeonholed into one player that they got turned down and they maybe overspent and a whole bunch of things. It feels like this time they had something in the chamber. They were ready to go. They fired it. Now they're close to signing a designated player, and they're going to bring somebody in, and that should give somebody like Solari, it should give somebody like Sosa and their team sort of pause to say, well, next time they come and talk to us, we should probably be ready to make a deal with them because they're just going to go out to someone else. We could have had $12.5 million right now, and instead now we have zero.
And I guess the idea is there's not $22 million. We're talking about this large amount of money is going to go to one player, but 12 to you or 10 to you. By the way, I'm hearing that Peck probably, the expectation, the hope is that it'll be done sooner rather than later, maybe in the next couple of days. Transfer Market has his market value at $7 million.
Right.
And the deal is apparently for $10 million.
Right.
And you talked a little bit about why the discrepancy, why market value would be at 7, but you're actually going to pay 10 for the guy.
One, we always talk about Transfer Market they're lagging, right? They always lag in sort of the correct value for players because you're basing it off of previous sales. You're basing it off of other things of like players, that type of thing. But especially for young players, there's upside, right? There's always upside. 22 years old, you're thinking, man, this could be the next Pavone. This could be I'm making up names, but like it could be the next big thing, right? And if you're going to be the next big thing, well, then we want money to ensure that if he does become the next big thing, that we don't feel like we got slighted, we got shorted, right? So usually you pay over for the younger, up and coming, promising players. So $10 million for a guy who's maybe worth 6 or 7 is probably realistically in there. I was talking to somebody and we were talking about the Galaxy tax, right? There's this thing where everybody talks about, well, when you're talking about the LA Galaxy, there's clearly a tax involved. And maybe you saw some of that with Sosa and Solari. Certainly with Sosa, I think 15 was out of bounds asking for, right? Whenever you're talking about a guy who's probably worth 8, 9, and you're willing to pay 12, right? It's whenever you start paying double with some of these things, you're starting, like, that doesn't make sense. You're starting to get out of the promising player, and now you're paying money for not just a promising player, but now you're paying for somebody who's developed, but they're not developed yet. So for me, it's a lagging indicator on Transfer Market. So whenever he gets sold for 10 or 12, then all of a sudden the it'll come up and match that, right? Those types of things. So that's why I see the LA Galaxy. But the bottom line is the Galaxy put $12.5 million on a table for Sosa, and that got pulled back. That would have been a record by $2.5 million for a transfer. But you're talking about guys. I'll tell you right now, and let's clear this up because this is absolutely, per my sources, this is correct. Gabriel Peck is not going to be a U22 player. Lots of people were trying to make him that. That is not happening. Young designated player is what this is going to be. And what that will do, if they get this across the line, is give the LA Galaxy the ability to sign 3 U22 players. This was the setup that they had similar to last year when Ricky Puig wasn't a full designated player. He was sort of, I don't know, a junior designated player, if you want to call it that. Not quite the whole thing there. And so that allowed them to have 3 U22 players. That was Caligari, Aude, and Joveljic. Well, now they have Aude and Joveljic. And either they were going to have to, if they got 3 senior level designated players, they were going to have to convert one of their U22s to just a regular player. And they could have done that with Joveljic to like a TAM player or something like that, but a bigger cap hit if you do that. Or they were going to go out and get a young designated player, and that's what they are doing here with Peck. They're going after a guy who is going to be a young designated player. That gives the LA Galaxy 1 full designated player left and 1 U22 slot left. Not to mention, probably a couple, maybe a full TAM slot in there as well, that the Galaxy can still sort of go out and spend. But we're getting to those points where Peck is sort of allowing now for us to figure out what mechanisms the Galaxy are using, and that will help you fill out the rest of the roster as well. So Peck full speed ahead here. It seems like everybody's pretty optimistic about it. I know you've talked to some people, I've talked to some people. Everybody's seems like this one is a go for now.
Put that list back up on the screen here.
Yes.
And the people that can't see that, when you look at that, we got McCarthy is signed and Yamani is signed.
Yep.
Goalkeeper and right back. Then the targets, we have Peck, a right wing, Sosa, right wing, Solari, right wing.
Yep.
We got a central midfielder, a right winger. Notice there's no forwards on that. And I find that very interesting. We had talked earlier about the possibility that maybe they might sign a winger who could play forward, a guy that could step in the middle if Vanny wants to stay with the 4-3-3 or if he wants to have a target forward, just one player like with Chicharito. They're not doing that. They're going for wingers, and that tells me that Joveljic has, unless there's something we don't know about, that the job is Joveljic's, and now it's time to put up or shut up, that they're going to start the season with a couple of highly paid wingers that are their job is going to be to get the ball to Joveljic in the middle.
Yeah, let me clear up something. Eric gave us a $10 super chat. He said, basically, is Kobe, they were talking about statues, and he said, is Kobe one of those people? He was really only a lifetime Galaxy player, right? So one of the things, and I think Kobe is definitely on that list, by the way. So we've talked about that. But I want to make sure. Thanks, Eric, for reminding me that I missed it. So just remind me, I get confused. $5 super chat from Gary. Thank you, gentlemen, for all you do for us Galaxy fans. You both are the raddest. I don't know about Kevin, but thank you.
By the way, Kobe was a coach too. Don't forget.
Kobe, an interim coach for a little bit there. One game. Didn't they win that game though? Doesn't he have like 1,000 win percentage or something?
Well, he was the last coach at the Galaxy before Bruce Arena.
I mean, another thing that is just adds to his claim of fame.
Don't you find it interesting? I mean, I do find it interesting that they are. I don't want to say they're betting the house on Joveljic. And again, I'm going to go with this and say Greg Vanny knows more about Joveljic than we do. But it really seems like a motivation for Joveljic to say, look, you wanted the starting job? Okay, we're going to go out and spend $15-20 million on wingers to feed you. No excuses. Let's see what you can do.
my good friend Chris Tucker said if you can stand on side with Peck and whoever else they're going to bring in, if you can stand on side, you'll score 12 goals. It's like one of those. If you could just stay on side. Bottom line is they're looking for the service, right? And not only that, but with Peck and with some of these other guys they're doing, it's about transition. It's about quickness, right? This was about, if you remembered, with Grandsir and Cabral. And let's talk about it in realistic terms instead of being overreactive to it. With Grandsir, with Cabral, you were able to get out and get on the attack very quickly. You were able to outrun guys into the corners. You were able to keep pressure on whenever you would win the ball. Greg Vanny's so much about transition moments. It's about transition, but not just getting into transition, but finishing and extending the transition in a quick manner. So that way you can have odd man rushes. So that way you can counter quickly. All those things. Well, the Galaxy didn't really have that. And you want to talk about Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd was not the fastest person on the earth. He was very quick. He's good enough, right? And I really like Tyler Boyd. Please don't, but the bottom line is they're looking at guys now who can stretch, who can evade, who can sort of come in and cut in and do the different things. So that's the focus, and you can sort of see it starting to play out a little bit. And they're expecting Joveljic, who's not the fastest, he's not the fleetest of foot, but he's quick enough to get into the box and be on the end of these crosses when the Galaxy are able to get the odd man rushes. So if Peck comes in, which it certainly seems we're expecting, that's a 5-star rumor. Solari and Sosa down to 3 stars. You should ask, like, well, they rejected the bids. Hey, I don't know if they're done yet. We're negotiating in public here. All right. You went out and got Peck for $10 million. Maybe you were going to spend $10 million anyway. Maybe you're going to spend 12.5. Who wants the 12.5? Sometimes it's like, I'm giving away $12.5 million. Who would like to give me a player? Those types of things. Now, the other rumor that came out today was a Manchester United rumor and talking about Facundo Pellistri. I don't know. I heard it 7 times. Well, they said it like 7 I was listening to the English announcers say the name, and I feel like they're not saying it right. You know how they like to do weird syllables and stuff like that? Those English guys are weird. But anyway, Pellistri, again, a 22-year-old kid. This is one of those underutilized guys at Manchester United. This is very much not the same, but similar to sort of the Ricky Puig situation, which is, hey, he's not getting a lot of minutes. Hey, he's not getting a lot of playing time. When he plays for Argentina on the national team, kid can be kind of a revelation at times and really play well. A lot of upside to this U22. Hey, Pellistri, we sort of have this ability to go out and get you. If you want to come here and you want to play with Ricky Puig, you want to play with Gabriel Peck, you want to play with Dejan Joveljic in this sort of young squad that we're putting together on one of the biggest teams in the United States. Instead, you're sitting on the bench for Manchester United, and PSV Eindhoven, I guess, are also looking at bringing him in on possibly a loan. There's sort of this thing that Manchester United says, hey, there's not a lot of loan here. Let's get to my reporting on this, and then we can talk about this particular player as well. And I will tell you, the Galaxy are interested. I think they are going to put an offer together. I think they are going to go out, but this is not one of those where you sit there and say, oh yeah, this is going to get done. This isn't a Gabriel Peck where we're finalizing details and doing all this. This is a bit of, hey, we're here. We're going to offer. And a former Manchester United player, Jovan Kirovski, also on the LA Galaxy staff. I wonder if that reach out would happen. I would imagine it would in this particular case. You're going after a guy who you could bring in and could possibly be a really cool, fun addition, but Manchester United is going to have to want to get rid of him. This, by the way, if you went after him, would probably have to be a full designated player. £1 million for this guy in terms of his salary. So I would imagine that you would still have to match that. And then there's some stupid, ridiculous numbers thrown out there like, oh, well, you need to pay Manchester United 20 or 30 million if you're going to buy this. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. You don't play him. So, I would imagine that this could be one of those. They're looking for the steal, though, Kevin. This isn't the, oh, we think we're going to get it. This is, we see you're not using him. We'd like to use him. Here's some money. Would you like to take some money? And so it's one of those things. Maybe if financial fair play comes into case, maybe Manchester United needs to free up some money. Maybe they need $10 million. You could get somebody like this. I think this, by the way, if you're asking me right now, is a 3-star rumor, right? Is not, and I haven't put on the rumor track yet, but this is a 3-star rumor for me. It's a reach. It's a possibility, but I do not feel like this one is going to, this is a first sure get it over the line. In the coming days, we'll sort of find out. I would expect it doesn't happen. That's sort of where I'm 75% it doesn't happen.
A player at that age being on a major club and being talked about by another major club in a big league, at that age, leaving Europe, that's a heavy lift. I know that Ricky Puig was sort of the exception to that rule. But kids that age they feel like when they leave Europe, they're just not going to get back.
Maybe.
And they don't want to leave at that age. And so, that would be a tough one. That would be, I think, if he were loaned, still property of Manchester United, that might be a little more palatable to him. But leaving Europe at that age, that seems like, we're talking about Gabriel Peck. He's coming from Brazil.
Right.
He's coming to MLS to get the attention of teams in Europe.
Right.
Leaving Europe, I think a lot of players feel like they fall off the map when they go to MLS. Coming from South America up is a different thing.
Right. This is a highly touted young talent, though. This is not a listen. And certainly if you look at the stats, it's nothing to get excited about because he's just not playing. And he's getting a little minutes here, a little minutes there. I think he was on the bench today in their cup game. But I didn't see if he got to play or anything like that. So that was part of this. So keep that in mind as you're looking. But again, different LA Galaxy, right? Hey, we want somebody from Europe. It's this 22-year-old kid that you're not using. That's the guy we're going after. And by the way, we were ready to go after him as soon as we realized that Solari and Sosa weren't coming. And now we have $12.5 million sort of sitting in our pocket, just burning a hole in our pocket. Again, I don't know if the Galaxy, and this is not a conversation I've had, nor has anybody provided any clarity to me. I don't know if we should expect the LA Galaxy to spend $20 million on 2 wingers. Like, that seems like a lot of money, Kevin, to go out and get 2 wingers. But I don't see any signs when you're looking at it and who they're approaching and who they're going after right now. Like, if you looked at Pellistri, you're gonna say that that's an expensive transfer. That's not a cheap transfer. If you're going after that guy, that's a $10-12 million transfer. If you're trying to get him, and you're gonna pay him $1 million a year, it's a lot of money, Kevin. So if they're still going after, I don't think he's a backup for Peck. So are we expecting the Galaxy are going to spend $20+ million on wingers? Really interesting, especially being that you still have Joveljic. Now, Joveljic has the advantage of being a U22 and only costing about $200,000 against the cap. Again, you can spend your money elsewhere whenever you do this. But I think that people are worried, and I think rightfully so. I think this is a real concern. The Galaxy relying on Joveljic could fall flat on their face. Obviously, they have Barry, who's not added to the roster, but they have his rights as 6'3", but he's a change-up guy. He's a I don't play the same as Joveljic guy, and they're not expecting they're going to get any miraculous thing out of Barry and what he's doing. If they're wrong about Joveljic, though, and certainly with the wingers they're going after, I'm sure you could play some of them at forward, and that could be a nice mix, and you could bring Fagundes is. Like, the move here is, Joveljic isn't getting it done. You move one of the wingers up to striker, and then you bring Fagundes in, and he's sort of your backup on either of the wings. That's sort of the move where you're seeing it play out right now. That makes some sense. But I don't think the LA Galaxy are going to get past summer if Joveljic is not doing what he needs to be doing, which maybe he balls out, maybe he doesn't. Then at summertime, you have a chance to fix it. I said it last week on Thursday. This summer, Kevin, if you are a team in Major League Soccer, no matter who you are, if you have MLS Cup aspirations, if you have MLS playoff aspirations of going further, you need to get better in the summer. It doesn't matter who you are, you have to add to your team, whether that's depth to make sure that your depth is better, or whether that's starting caliber talent. You need to get better in the summer. Otherwise, you will not be able to keep up with the amount of games that everything is happening. So teams need to get better in the summer, and Joveljic might be that target this summer.
Well, Vanny's been with Joveljic long enough to know, I think, what buttons to push. I'm going to lean with Greg Vanny on this a little bit and say that he's figured something out. I know in talking with with Jill Ellis when she was coaching the national team. She said with people like Sydney LaRue and Carly Lloyd and even Megan Rapinoe, the one way to get them to do some ungodly stuff was to tell them they couldn't do it. And then they would go out and do it. And maybe Vanny's figured out that with Joveljic, it's like, oh, you want a chance? Okay, here it is. And that's what he thinks is going to motivate him. I still think it's a gamble. We'll see if it happens. But as far as the spending goes, the Galaxy were the second highest payroll team in MLS last year. They're probably going to break that record. They'll still be the highest or second highest. They'll spend even more this year. One thing about Dan Beckerman, for all the criticism he gets on this show, especially from me, with the exception of 2017, he has spent money.
Right.
Will he spend $20 million? I think that's too much.
Right.
But you can't say the Galaxy don't spend and they're not aggressive. And I think this is a big year to spend. Why? Because you have Will Kuntz in, and you've come in and he's kind of become lauded as the savior. You got to let him do what he wants to do. Find out if he's right. Is he the savior? Don't bring him in and then say, no, you can't do that. That's not going to work. It's Greg Vanny's last season. Vanny is the guy that the Galaxy went out and got and said, you're going to bring the tradition back. You're an original. You're an OG. This is a make or break year for him. Give him the resources he needs. And then we just had Will talk about all the things going on at the stadium. There is a lot of energy around this team. All the energy, all the talent that they brought in, and I'm talking about in the front office, on the business side as well. This can't be a 500 team that just that makes the playoffs by a point or just misses. This has to be a team that finishes in the top 3 in the conference, maybe challenges for Supporters Shield, at least for part of the season. This has to be a team that goes deep into tournaments. There's just too much going on. And forget about the 10 years without a title. Just all of the other resources that are being poured into this team, all the attention the team is grabbing, and opening the season with Leo Messi. I mean, there's just a lot of things lining up that the Galaxy have to get this one right.
Yeah, it feels that way. Let's kill one rumor before we get too far away from it. Basically, Club America apparently was or has been interested in Mauricio Cuevas, and so there was some interesting stuff going on with that. I will tell you, per my reporting, the LA Galaxy are not entertaining offers for Cuevas. I don't know whether or not America even submitted an offer, or whether it was all just BS or anything. They may have, and the Galaxy said no, or they may have never, and this is all just a rumor. But right now, Cuevas isn't going anywhere, so you don't have to worry about that. As one of those things. So,
what do you think about the rumors about Chicharito going to Chivas? I've been seeing a lot of social media pictures, him working out, I think in Miami. The Mexican League season is starting. He's not with them yet. Do they start the season without him? Is that a bad rumor?
One is it wouldn't going to Chivas is like the most unimaginative ending for all of it. I mean, it was expected. It's not even that it's unimagined. It's just that it was expected. I still think that happens. That to me, that just makes more sense than anything else. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a bad. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty good rumor, knowing where it came from and everything like that. I feel like that's a good rumor, but we'll see. We'll see if Chicharito. It'll be really interesting to see how durable he is and if he can still sort of play at those levels. So for me, I think it's an interesting thing to watch on the side. It's like everybody's going to be watching Sosa and Solari now, right? And sort of see like, oh, okay, well, remember the biggest sort of thing that I can sort of look at is like whenever you watch players that were almost members of your team, but they weren't, and then you sort of watch where they go. Look at Christian Pavone and what he sort of did, and like imagine his star and how much it would have risen here in Major League Soccer, and the fact that it got to go back and he did a whole bunch of stuff, and now, I mean, more or less a forgotten player now more than anything else. I mean, that's a real turn that all of that took, and so all that stuff is interesting. It's not just about being a good soccer player. You also have to be in the right place at the right time in order to play. Like if you're the backup to Derek Jeter at shortstop in the New York Yankees farm system, I don't think you're going to play. You might want to go somewhere else. You're going to be a backup in AAA for a long time, right? It's those types of things. And for the LA Galaxy, we were talking about Tejas. The big deal there is that you don't always have room on the senior team for players, and nor can every player you develop in the academy go to your senior team. And so for me, getting money from a player like Tejas, who's an academy product and sort of in there, that's a big deal. It's just the drop in the bucket. The $100,000 means nothing except that it sets a marker on a bar that you could sort of expect from here on out. But it means revenue coming in for the club. This is eventually how clubs make money. And listen, big clubs usually don't make money They usually lose money better than anything else, but the idea here is that it's at least balanced as much as you can.
You said $100,000 isn't a lot of money. Yes and no. When you're talking about first team players, you need to maybe send out 3 or 4 guys before you get a first team starter with that money. But what does $100,000 mean for Galaxy 2? What does it mean for the next pro team? What does it mean for the academy? What does it mean for building the infrastructure? That's a lot of money on that end. And again, that's as you said, it's a resource that is not going to help the first team this year.
Right.
But you sell them, you get some money, and you use it to build the infrastructure.
Really
good deal.
Really interesting to see how this fills out now with McCarthy there, who I believe is the 23rd player. Let me see. 22nd player. So you get McCarthy, and then Yamane is the 23rd. So now the LA Galaxy 7 spots left. Remember, spots 29 and 30 have to be held by homegrown players. So really, you're looking at 28 plus 2 homegrowns. Galaxy already have homegrowns on the team. So let's see, do they have any homegrowns? Yeah, 2 homegrowns. Yep. For Kranis and Neal, both fill spots 29 and 30 for homegrown. So they have the ability to do that. So really, you're looking at about 7 more players the LA Galaxy get to add, including 2 designated players, including 1 U22. It's funny, the roster is being filled out, but the big moves are really just starting. You land Peck as a young designated player, and again, he will be a young designated player if he comes in. That's it. That's the answer. No, don't stop arguing that he's going to be U22. He's not. He's a young designated player. They're going to take him there, and then the Galaxy still get to fill a designated player spot, and they get to fill a U22. Still a lot to happen here in this offseason as the Galaxy get ready really to start their preseason here in just a couple weeks. So,
well, and another thing is, Vanny said, he said it every year, but he's really emphasized it this offseason. I want everybody there when camp starts. Camp starts in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. Looks like most people are going to be there.
Yeah, it feels like they're going to be close. Remember, you have to worry a little less about visas in this preseason as long as you've already started like this stuff, because they'll be able to train, they'll be able to do stuff. They just won't be able to be added officially to a roster, and that roster deadline is usually the day or 2 before the season actually starts, right? Remember, Tyler Boyd last year didn't get to play in some of the preseason games, but was with training with the Galaxy the entire time. It was happened. So that's sort of those things to watch as it goes forward. But yeah, it feels like things are starting to come together. So certainly we'll have to try to check in with Will Kuntz when we can. We had Will Misselbrook on today, and really I'm interested to see what the stadium looks like. I've been there for so many years, like so many of the fans and so many of our listeners. We've been there for so many years. It's really is almost a second home. I mean, I go there, Kevin. It's like, oh, it's good to be back. I've been here for so many times over the years that you really know every nook and cranny. I can't wait to see if it changes that much to my eye. I've seen a lot of stuff go through before, and I want to see how much I go, whoa, okay. Cool.
We didn't ask what future the Pupusa truck has. Maybe they're going to get their own standalone kiosk.
I think they should just sell them in the press box, so I don't have to walk all the way down there. Is that too much to ask? Could we just have like?
Well, Seattle has a Starbucks thing in the press box there.
They
have a Starbucks employee that makes you whatever you want for free.
This is what I'm talking about, right? So the whole deal. People asking about the injured players that the LA Galaxy still have. I mean, you're talking about guys like Jalen Neal. You're talking about Gaston Brugman. You're talking about Cáceres. Let's see. I think that's everybody who was injured off the top of my head. Mavinga was injured for a little while there. Well, let's see. Delgado was injured for a while. Puig was injured for a while.
What do we know about Jalen Neal? Because he was not on the U.S. national team roster that we just announced.
I wouldn't read
for their,
that.
Camp Cupcake, their MLS camp.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that he would be a guy that they'd bring back to take a look at. I know they're thinking about him for the Olympics. I think 13 players on that team are age eligible for the Olympics. Jalen Neal was not one of them.
Yeah, I will say that I wouldn't take a whole bunch from that. For me, if I'm the LA Galaxy, if I'm Jalen Neal, and the national team as well, it's sort of like, go get your normal preseason in because you were injured, you had surgery. The Galaxy were very deliberate in shutting him down and letting him rest and doing all these things. So now that you're deliberate doing that stuff, you need to get him through a preseason so that way he gets a normal transition into playing and getting back into playing and seeing how that. Once he's starting to handle that load, then that's whenever you can start looking at national team. And quite honestly, if I'm a national team, it's like, you haven't been playing. I trust that you will get there. I trust that we want you to see, and we've already seen you. I don't necessarily need to see you at Camp Cupcake, but right now it's important for you just to get through the preseason and start to show that you still have what you had and you can come in and compete again. And I'll happily send you an invite whenever it comes. Again, I'm not overly concerned for Jalen Neal. I do think there's going to be an interesting, like your opening day starters if Jalen Neal's healthy, if Caceres is healthy, and Caceres training, getting back. We don't know because we haven't talked to Greg Vanney in a little while now, so we don't know updates on injured players and all that fun stuff. I'm sure that's coming here in the next couple of weeks. We'll be able to talk and sort of see where everybody is and who can come back. Caceres had a pretty serious injury, so we'll see where that ends up there. That's what I think.
And all of that, we talked about those injuries at center back. Furcanis is in that mix now. How much longer does he become a guy hanging on at the end? Does he get promoted and get in that first team rotation? Is he another guy that maybe they have to try to sell and get $100,000 or $150,000? He's a very good player, and he's not getting a chance to play.
Lots of stuff I think is going to be interesting to watch in the preseason and how all this stuff gets to play. It's like this is the time of year where you get those surprises and you're going to get the playing time, right? A lot of times you get playing time at the beginning of the year. This is when that happens. So I'm ready for soccer to start. I don't know about you. I'm waiting for the LA Galaxy to make a couple more transfers here. So we'll see how all of that goes and do that.
Well,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to Coachella. I haven't been out to Coachella. It's now a legit thing. It's really kind of coming to its own. And this year they're going to have NWSL teams, Angel City and the San Diego Wave are coming. That's very important to them. They're going to play a couple of games. NWSL really has no preseason.
Right.
The teams are too far apart. San Diego and LA are very close. They'll be able to play each other at Coachella. That'll be a lot of fun too. So that tournament is growing not only with MLS teams, and it's sort of replaced that Tucson tournament as the place to go in the preseason. And it's a legitimate event with fans and hoopla and all that kind of stuff. Not the kind of stuff Will's talking about, but pretty good for the desert. Yeah. And now we got a women's tournament as well.
Yeah, it should be. I love going out there. I was there whenever they didn't allow fans the first year. I was there last year when they did allow fans. Much more fun with fans, and hopefully we'll have some interaction there as well. So we'll let you.
It's at the Polo Grounds. It's at the Polo Grounds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
How do they play with all the horses running around?
Yeah, they put the horses away for a little while. That's
okay.
Yeah, makes some sense. Just like they do at Coachella. You think whenever they have the big concert that the horses are still running around? No, they put them away for a
little while. I hope they clean up the field.
They usually
road
do.
Apples.
They usually do. No, it's a great place, and the fields are all immaculate. They stretch out there. It's usually pretty good weather. So unless it's cold like it is now, I'm not going if it's going to be that cold. I don't want to have to wear a jacket. Sounds chilly. All right. Anything else, Kevin, you want to get to?
I haven't gotten to anything since we started, so no.
Everybody agrees with that. Big thank you to the LA Galaxy for having Will Misselbrook coming out and talking to us. We'll hopefully have him on again. So a lot of things headed that way and a lot of rumors. All right, if you're looking for Mr. Kevin, that's at KBaxter11. If you're looking for him on X or Twitter, at KBaxter11, head on over to LATimes.com where you can find him there as well. If you're looking for me on Twitter and X, it's at Guesman, at Galaxy Podcast, and at Galaxy Podcast on Instagram, anywhere else, cornerofthegalaxy.com, where you can find us as well. All right, that about does it. Galaxy knee-deep in rumors. Some things coming across the line here, hopefully pretty shortly. We'll have another show on, guess what, Thursday. I don't know who will be there, but it'll at least be me. So Thursday, we'll be right back at you, all right? For Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy from the box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.